This is a Boeing B-17G, but it wasn't made by Boeing. This one was made by Vega Aircraft, which became Lockheed Vega and then Lockheed and Lockheed Martin and that whole chain. It was made in Burbank. Also, Douglas Aircraft were making B-17s. And the reason is it was a Boeing airplane, but they couldn't make enough of them. They were focusing on the B-29. They had a lot of things going, and so they farmed out some of the production. Same with engines, and a lot of parts on that airplane were made by other companies than who originally. The Wright Cyclone engines. Some of those are Wright Cyclones. The others are Wright Cyclones built by Studebaker. So that's kind of how the war went, you know. Right at the beginning of World War II, the United States was trying to stay out of conflict as much as possible, remain neutral. Didn't have a huge military, but were really trying to stay out of troubles. Europe was getting gobbled up by the Germans, South Pacific was getting gobbled up by the Japanese, and all of a sudden we had Pearl Harbor, and that drug us into that war, part of the war. And then as Europe all fell, and the Germans were starting to focus on Britain, we got drug into that side of the war. So now all of a sudden we were facing a world war and we weren't prepared for it. But at the same time we were starting to send all our young men overseas to fight. So how did we build this? They made over 12,000 B-17s during World War II in a 3.5-year period. Incredible volume. And then you think about B-24s, B-25s, P-51s and P-47s, just all the different aircraft that were built, and then tanks and jeeps and guns and uniforms and tents and all the things that had to be made to make that, our fighting forces able to perform. So how did that happen? It was because of all the people who were back home, the women, and the folks who weren't deployed overseas to fight. They stayed home and they rationed and they donated and they worked hard in the factories to make all these things, the incredible amount of things that were needed to make that effort successful. What went on at home was just as amazing as what went on overseas in fighting that war. It was a long-range bomber, primarily flying out of England. They flew out of other places too, Africa and so forth, but primarily England, to bomb Germany, to try and break their will. So they would fly these missions, usually about 8 to 10 hours long, flying over at about 30,000 feet, 32 degrees below zero, just trying to survive in an aircraft that's not heated, not pressurized. They had to be on oxygen. They had to keep checking on each other to make sure their oxygen mask didn't freeze up from the moisture you exhale. Keep checking on each other, just trying to survive to get on target, and then face all the flak and the fighters that were trying to shoot them down. And in the early part of the war, it was quite successful, watching other planes go down, and then fight out of there, and then endure the cold and the conditions on the way back home, and then do it again the next day. You had a flight crew on the aircraft of 10 people, 4 officers and 6 enlisted. And the officers, the old man of the airplane, the aircraft commander, was probably 21 or 22 years old. The youngest was 18 maybe, but probably 16 or 17 because they lied about their age to get in. And so those crew of 10 people every day got in that airplane with the knowledge, especially in the beginning, that 1 out of 3 or 4 crews weren't coming back that day. But an incredible what happened during that time. And if they hadn't done that, this country would be much different right now. Incredibly different.